Today we're going to talk about 3 tips that you can implement on your church's website that will help you be more effective and reach more people through your church's website. Are you ready? Because it's time.
Holy nuclear time bombs! Holy overeating! Holy roller coasters!
It's time!
It's time.
It's time for the Lion Sidekick Podcast!
Hello, heroes. I'm Tom Pounder, and this is the YM Sidekick Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about ministry tips and tools and ideas to help us be more effectively in this very digital and online world. And today I'm excited because I've got my friend Jeremy Zog back. Jeremy is a friend of mine that I've known for many years, and we go back a ways, and we talk about this in the interview, but we go back a really long time to when we were first started blogging, and we were both youth ministers, and he was living out in California, and I was still living in my area. But we've known each other for a long time, and he's actually been on the podcast before and talk about different things about student ministry. But today we're going to talk about website stuff, and he's going to give us 3 tips about how we can optimize our website a little bit better so that we can reach more people and really get the information out that we need to have to people who are really looking to discover more about our church and our ministries. So I'm really excited to have Jeremy back on. He's going to share 3 tips and a little bit more. So without any further ado, let's get an interview right now. All right. With me right now is my friend, Jeremy Zog. Jeremy, how are you?
Doing great, man. Doing A-okay.
You're smiling at me because I probably mispronounced your last name. And you're like, what? This guy has been friends with me for so long and he still can't get my last name right.
You know, Tom, this has been an issue since the first day I lined up in kindergarten by my last name to go get lunch. And Mr. Long said it wrong too. And I knew this was just going to be my life trajectory, and I've just embraced it. So it's okay. It's actually my great grandpa's fault, because it was actually probably like some weird Chuck last name. But when they came over, I think they just chopped the last name in half, but kept the pronunciation. So blame Ellis. No, what's that island?
Ellis Island.
Yeah, Ellis Island. Blame that person. So
yeah, that's good. I'll blame them. Do your kids have problems with their last name? Like,
yeah, they're already complaining. Like, my youngest is in kindergarten, the other one's in second. They're like, Dad, why are we always last in line and no one knows how to pronounce our name? I'm like, yeah.
Oh man. Well, this is awesome. I don't think we've talked about your last name much before, but for anybody who doesn't know, Jeremy and I are good friends. We're friends. They're not just people that we've met online and stayed online, but we've actually been in person numerous times. And I consider Jeremy one of my good friends. And so here's the deal. You haven't been on my podcast for a really long time. And the last time you were on my podcast, you're working for this group called Orange. I think that's their name, Orange. And but we have a history even before your time with Orange. So talk to me about this a little bit. Tell people who you are, where you're at, and what do you currently do, and maybe even how did you get there?
Well,
this could be a whole podcast within itself.
Yeah, but I'll keep it short, because we can get to more of the practicality, which I think, is probably the most helpful. But I think it is too contextual too. So I think you and I like connected online back in 2007, 8. Like, there was a CMS platform, content management system called WordPress. I think I built the blog. I was working in a small church, and so I think I had a blog called like Small Town Youth Pastor or something like that. And I just started screwing around with WordPress and web design, and I really liked it. I had a lot of friends that were in web design, so I think, and then you and I like connected, and I think we got your site up and kind of, introduced you, and you kind of like took it and ran with it and started rocking it. And so
you were the one who got me set up in a blogging stuff.
Oh,
it was because of you, man. Like, I reached out to you and you got me going.
Well, that's great. Yeah. And so I had a lot of friends in it, and like they really kind of coached me and helped me. And I was like reading and just learning a lot about it. I found a lot of love into it. And then I transitioned over to that nonprofit Orange, and it's a curriculum company, so you're selling events and curriculum. And so I was working a lot with the digital marketing team. I even fell in love with that because then it was like development design on web, but then also how do you make it attractive? How do you get visitors? How do you get leads? All these great questions in digital marketing. And so I then kind of transitioned back into the church, another small church, and just kind of was doing both this freelance web design and development. I got certified in front end web development and digital marketing. And I literally just like 4 or 5 months ago, I just transitioned to kind of like doing it now for companies and in marketing. So that's where I'm at right now. So I completely kind of shifted lanes to doing this now full time for my job, and so going from ministry to then like IT has been a little bit of a switch for me, but I really love it because it's always challenging and problem solving.
Yeah. Dude, well, again, you started out when I first met you, you were a youth minister all the way out in California, who also I thought was cool because you had a blog and then you helped me get my blog started
Yeah.
up. And then we just kind of kept our friendship going on online for a while. And then we actually got to meet at, I think it was an Orange tour that we actually got to meet in
I think it
person.
was. Yeah.
You guys came up here to Northern Virginia for
Right.
an Orange tour. We hung out a little bit. And then when I came down for Orange Conference, you, my friend Corey, well, actually, you're friends with Corey too. I don't know if you want to call yourself a friend
Yeah,
with Corey.
I think he's mad at me, and he then revoked our Facebook friendship. So our friendship now is pending.
There you go. But yeah, it's been awesome tracking through life with you, and I'm really fascinated with you because you've gone from ministry and now you're doing marketplace stuff and you're working with web, and I'm excited about that. What's been one of the biggest changes in your life as you've gone from working at a company like Orange, ministries focus, to where you're working with web stuff?
I think I don't know. Everyone's kind of got their value set. I just turned 40. I got some gray hairs popping. Doing youth ministry. Straight out of college. That was a 17-year sprint run. So like we were kind of joking. I think the other time we were talking, Tom, like just how much skill set you need and how much you kind of build that over the years.
Yeah.
And it's not like I think you kind of plateau with your skill set in youth ministry, and unless you're going to go change. And so I think I was just always kind of hungering to keep learning, and because working with the digital age of youth ministry, like I think it was just kind of built in me, and really technology just always fascinated me. So that was kind of like, what if I'm going to make this switch, what I did a bunch of research, like where are the top industries to go to in the next 10 years. And so obviously the medical field, the health, um, teachers, and then IT was a big one, and they were projecting about like 20% growth over the next 10 years. So that's where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go there because it's always changing. I love to learn. I love challenges, and I don't have to deal with kids going through puberty anymore. And, no, now I can volunteer, just be that super volunteer, and just be so relational.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Well, that's cool that you're still staying in it with youth ministry. I envision myself, again, especially as my kids are still in middle school and high school, that I would still, when I get out of doing student ministry and go really into digital only, that I would still volunteer. And I like that, the relational component, not worry about the back end stuff
Right.
and all the details, but just be all relational with kids.
Right. Yeah.
So, all right, so let's talk about, now that we got the introductions away, again, you get that out of the way. Let's start talking about web stuff and everything like that. I asked you to come on because you have a long history with web and web development. As we already highlighted, you were doing your own stuff for a really long time, and I still use WordPress, by the way. I love WordPress. But as you're working with web stuff and everything, and then we're talking in the context of ministry, what are some tips that you would have for churches or for ministries as they're investing in web, especially with all the growth potential there?
Yeah, so like tips, like, like you
Yeah,
can,
just some suggestions. Everybody, you can't see this, but Jeremy did have a sheet. He had a list of sheet.
well, you just jumped right in, man. Like I was like, all right, cool. We're just gonna,
Well, what did you want to
we're
talk?
gonna
Did you
start
want to talk
talking
about
about HTML
Falcon?
figure tags. No. Sorry, I was just my brain. I was just being like, I had to like really make a quick shift there in my head. So my apologies there. No, I think obviously, yeah, with COVID, I think the church had to really look inward on that sense, kind of like the digital and the physical, kind of intersecting. And I think it exposed a lot of churches to how how their digital presence or their footprint was doing, because we were all locked up, and so we couldn't do that physical thing. So I think I obviously, Tom, you have so much experience in this, so and I know a lot of dudes. So I kind of assume a couple things coming in this conversation. One, like you believe in the digital strategy of a website, and a website's just not so much informational, but it is a marketing tool. And I know, like, saying marketing and sales and all that, like, some people get really kind of hesitant about that, but that's what it is. We're trying to craft a message to drive action and to take it. So I've looked at a lot. I've worked with a lot of different, like, obviously church websites, landscapers, IT companies, lawyers, developers, therapists. So I've seen a lot of these in a lot of different industries, and a lot of the things are kind of the same when looking at a website. But I think the big things of when you're wanting to go see how your website is performing, you need to then step back, look at the demographics. So I think church websites are the front door, right? I think I saw, like, uh, someone's going to look at your church website like 15 times before they even step into your church building. And then, what is your church website target audience? So for me, the way I see that, it's a visitor, someone new, like, so it can't have a lot of churchy language, but then also for the member, how you keep getting involved and participating. So those are the two directions that I see the functionality of a website. So I think the first thing, the tip is, how's your page load speed? And there's a lot of tools out there. If you're connected to Google Analytics, that's built in already. You just Google page load speed. You put in your website, kind of your most popular web pages, see how that's performing. Research shows that if it does not load it by 3 seconds, people are gone already.
Like
So
3 seconds?
3 seconds, yeah, that's just how quick. It's just like, go, because if in the online world, Tom, it's like 1, 2, 3, and it boom, it's not, and it's like, I'm done. So fast, I've seen 1 to 2 seconds. You need that stuff hitting really quick. What slows down page set speeds is images. So, which is also, you need a lot of images, big beautiful images of people. Not stock. You can, right, but not very churchy kind of image. But look at how your images are. How are they loading? Because they will give you that report. And so that's the first big hiccup. Is, yes, we all have page speed issues, but looking at how big your images are, and you may need to go back and resize some of those. I've heard somewhere between 600 kilobytes to about 900 kilobytes for an image, based off of what your site wants to do. The second thing is a CTA. That's what we call it in development world when we're naming the label. It's call to action.
Yes.
So you need a call to action. Research shows, if you're using that funnel method, which it's like the hook, information, the ethos, and then drive your ask. So I will always suggest on that hero page, which is the top page, need to have at least 2 calls to action. So I don't know what it is, but you need to define what those 2 actions are, and make that very clear and very specific. So it's boom right away and have those 2 clicks. So you're immediately inviting your visitor into something. And the third tip is responsiveness. And what I mean by that is, how does the website look on mobile? So if you haven't updated your website probably for the last 5 years, you're going to have probably a lot of mobile problems.
Yeah.
Because right now it's like at least the research is showing, at least in some of the industry I was doing, about 89% of the traffic that we were seeing was happening from iPad below.
Wow.
So it's specifically on mobile, and I think it's probably true. I don't have the research to show that for church, but just think about it. Like, I'm in the South, so when I drive, well, when I was used to be driving home from work to I'm working remote, like I would pass 10 churches, and they would
Yeah.
always their website, and I would always kind of think, I'm like, I wonder how their websites look. So I think you kind of have to think about that visitor, and going into that. Just I don't know. I'm going to stop right there, Tom. What kind of question? So so page load speed, CTA, very clear CTA call to action button, and then responsiveness on the mobile side.
Yeah. Okay. So good. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to ask some follow-up questions because I was going to interrupt you and ask follow-up questions
Sure.
anyway. But okay. So let's go back to the stock photo stuff
Yeah.
and the importance of real videos because I've said this before in different contexts, but people want to see real people doing real things. The problem is we take a lot of stock photo of what's happening and we put it on our websites. What's the issue? Why shouldn't we do that? Let's just I mean, you and I both know we shouldn't, but for someone who's listening and still using stock photos, why is it so important not to use that and to use real photos? And would you encourage people to use video instead of photos as well?
Yeah. I think again, like at least I adopt kind of more of the marketing of narrative in the story, right? And so I think if the problem that we've seen with stock imagery is that you got to really work hard to match your church context. So like it's kind of in some ways misleading. And if you're having all these huge images of people or of different objects or items, and someone comes, like kind of going to our point now, someone visits your website and it's like, wow, this is really cool and really cool images, and they come to your church and it's nothing like that. It's a little bit misleading. So I think I think it is an art there, right? Like that's why. But I think if you're getting started in stock photo photography, that like that's really good. But and I think kind of segue into your second point of that question was I think probably one of the best of that investments is hiring a videographer and a photographer to come do your events. There's so many great freelance websites, thumbnail.com, and there's just going whatever, however you find them, but there's so many great videographers and photographers, and just capture all that and just start printing those pictures out and putting them at your church and then on your website. And then going into the video, I think, yeah, a video, as long as you compress it and you got the skills or have someone else to really can do that. But I think that's a really strong thing. And choose a channel, the YouTube channel, or just if you just want it more of a hidden thing for Vimeo, whatever. But I think again, having someone with some video editorial skills and posting that, I think is completely appropriate. And so I think again, to your thing, the more real, the better.
Yeah. Well, and someone again, correct me if I'm wrong, but while it may be ideal to have a digital camera that's really a high-end digital camera, you can just take videos on your phones, right? I mean that works too, right? Pictures and videos.
Yeah, especially with technology today, right? Or like, giving a student or somebody else. I always ran into the problem where I would always forget, dang it, or else I would be like too busy on the costume test contest, at Halloween or something, I would forget. But I was fortunate enough where I had good volunteer base that they always took great pictures too.
Well, and I think that's really important that you just said that because we just actually had a youth event at my church yesterday, and I've tapped two of my volunteers who are really good at Instagram, and I said, guys, and I've tapped them for well over a year. They've been doing this for over a year, but it's so funny. I tapped them to post things on Instagram on our stories and on our page so that we can get the content out, because I'm just not Instagram good. I'm not good at that. And so they both, it was funny yesterday as things were happening, I was taking different pictures. I'm like, guys, can you just take this and put it on the Instagram page? And they're like, Tom, we've already been doing that. We've been doing it all throughout the event. I'm like, thank you, Lord. I mean, because it's so helpful to have someone, and there are, especially young people, who are really good at things like Instagram or taking pictures, and pictures that people want to see now. And I think that's really important, that if you're not able to do the pictures or the videos, that you tap someone who can take the pictures and videos and get that to you.
Right.
So, well, let's talk about load speed real quick, because you made a good point. If you put a picture in there, it could really slow you down and slow your website, especially what you said about the compression on the video. Let's talk about that for a little bit. What does that do? Like, how can you shrink it, or how can you make it the right size? Is there a good number for that?
Yeah. So um, if I don't want to get too technical on this side, but like if you pull up your website right now, if like someone gave me their website right now, you can if you go on Google Chrome, and then there's this tool called inspect. So you hit control, like I'm just doing it right now, just so like you hit control and then you hit inspect. And so that basically goes and inspects the website, and you just hover over an image and it will tell you how big it is. So I could go onto any website, I could figure out how big it is. So if it's not and you know if it's not between, you know, 600 kb to 900 kb, it's probably going to be slowing it a little bit down. And so you can just go to just an easy photo editor. You know, they're free, or preview on Mac or Windows. I'm not sure what it is, but if you even Google like free photoshopping, there's tons of great sites that you can do that. To just go click on image size and then reduce it while keeping the resolution. So that resolution of either 72 or 300. And then you go onto your site, you delete that image, and then you put it back in. And typically, you know, again, I'm a huge fan of WordPress. You know, I know there's Wix, I know there's custom built sites, but I think WordPress, especially for church, is so great because not only you need to name that image based off your SEO. So I always suggest pick the city, 3 cities that you're aiming to hit, put church in there on your alt tag and file name, and that immediately gives you double SEO. So you have your page, and then you have your images. So the Google is reading both of those. So not only it's a great opportunity to resize those photos, but it's also a great opportunity to name those photos based off of SEO, which is search engine optimizer, which I also add too. Also have a Google business page. That Google, you got to feed the Google algorithm gods, and they love having those. So keep updating those with your pictures and your site simultaneously. You know, I think I've read about try to do that at least twice a week, because Google really likes to honor that, which then means you're going to have better performance.
Dude, that's great. That's great information, about, especially about the alt that you put in there, and how you can increase your SEO. Because again, like you just said, SEO is so important, and Google, it's so important for Google. And if you want to get discovered, you got to play by their rules, and you got to work with them a little bit, to make that happen. So that's awesome. Okay, let's go to call to action. Again, I think when people hear call to action, sometimes I think they feel like that is a marketing term, but let's just be honest. Whether you're a preacher or somebody else, you have to have a call to action in everything that you do. You have to call them to take action, and your web page is the perfect opportunity for you to call them to action. Now, I think you said your hero page. Did you?
Your hero image page, that's the top. So like websites are built in blocks. So
Okay.
it's the top block of every website. In fact, you know, I'll just list out a few websites that I see do this really well. Obviously, Village Church, Chandler's Church, like they're amazing at this. Like they've got great imagery. It's Church of the Good Shepherd. So it's cgshepherd.org and then sonshipbayridge.com. Those are some really great churches that really have a good invitation, if you will, on what they're doing. And that, that could be sermons, that could be like fill out a connection card, that can be watched, come to this new event, um, read our mission, read our hear about us. I don't know. Like that's where the creative work has to happen. But it's essential to make it very clear and concise um, on what it is. And here's what I think definitely these are the must-haves on a church website is you definitely need location, church times, directions, that type of information, that contact, past sermons, a donation button, and large, beautiful photos. Those are I think the biggest pieces that I think are just standard, and then everything else can really be on the creative team and trying to figure out what those are. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great insight. I never even heard of that thing called hero and stuff. So that's really kind of cool. And again, I like it because it's right up front and
yeah,
it's something that they can easily click because as they kind of scan through your website, they can easily just take a look at that and go back up to the top.
and the thing is too, it's the first thing that shows up on mobile. So and that's where the data is showing. So it's like if you have a really slick hero page,
Yeah.
which sometimes I like videos in hero pages too. Those are cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's that's just kind of kind of a standard in web development.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about real quick about mobile optimization because, well, just for anybody who's still their websites aren't mobile
Mm.
optimized, tell people what it looks like when, again, you said it's so important because everyone's using their mobile device or their iPad, but how does that impress people if it's mobile optimized as opposed to whether it's not optimized for mobile?
Well, I think it's very frustrating when you are on your mobile and you're trying to visit a church site that just is broke and like half the text and image or the buttons or whatever you're trying to accomplish is like broken half, right? And so a really easy way to tell is like if you're on your laptop, go to your website and then in that the browser window, kind of go to the edge and then smush it all the way in. And you should see how everyone sees it on mobile. There's also like a website too. It's called responsively.com. You can just throw in your URL and it will show you all screen sizes, the most popular screen sizes. So yeah, that's really important. Now if you don't have mobile, like that's probably a problem, and that's probably gonna be a time for redesign, which because I think that and I think that's probably why most churches don't want to do it. They don't see the value of having a mobile friendly website, which the marketplace that's huge, right? Like they want to drive action, and you kind of have to start with that value and then go into development to kind of help your site become more responsive friendly.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head too when you just said when someone pulls up and your website is not mobile responsive and you're looking at it on your phone, it's frustrating.
Yeah,
And if you're frustrating someone who's looking for a church, they might think, okay, this is too annoying. I'm going to go and visit another church and take a look at something else. So you lose the possibility of getting someone to come try out your church. Uh, and again, because I like what you said, they'll look at your website 15 times before they come to your in-person service. So I think that's really important for you to do. Would you recommend putting your actually putting your live stream on your main website, or would you rather have it a separate part of a kind of another part, like just a hey, click here for live stream, or would you rather have it like on a Sunday morning front and center so people just kind of look at it from there?
I don't know, Tom. You have to tell me on that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the data on that. I think it's both and. I think I think from the technological side, you probably do need some API running to do that live stream, or you can connect it to whatever platform you're wanting to use, YouTube or Vimeo or whatever. I think that does again, that's probably a little. If you do want to live stream, that's probably going to cost a little bit of production dollars
Yeah.
to hook that in. But I think it's just as effective to on here's the sermon from this morning or whatever. So I think ideally it's both, but I think for sure just having an archive of past sermons is huge.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you on
What would
that.
you say? Yeah, because you
I
do live streams, right? Like,
Well, we
yeah,
live stream, but when you like sometimes we've seen that when you go to a church website Monday through Saturday, it's just the website. And then on Sunday it kind of flips over to something different and it's just their live stream. We don't do that at my church. We just have a button that says watch live here.
that's cool.
Um,
Yeah,
and it kind of acts as a pop-up on Sunday, but they don't have to watch it. They can visit other parts of our church website. So
yeah,
I don't know.
cool.
All right. Well, this was great. Do you any other tips that you would want to share based on your knowledge and your expertise in this web development world that you are in?
Hmm. I think I'm all about measurement management. So what I mean by that is try to find a way that you're tracking how many people are coming, where they're looking on your website. Um, so there's so many great tools out there. I would start with just Google Analytics, and there's some great agencies too that can help on this, and define like your key search terms that you want to do, making sure that those are all sprinkled in, peppered into your site. But I think kind of just managing and measuring and just keep improving. Like no one, this is an art, and it takes at least 3 to 4 months for a site to really start to optimize, and not only the search engine, but just from all the interlinks and all the uploads and everything like that. So it's a you got to treat it kindly. So I think that would be my biggest thing is either getting a volunteer team or you can lead a team to like help kind of just keep QAing quality assurance
Yeah.
on your website either monthly or quarterly.
Yeah, and I think I like what you're saying here too. It takes an investment too, not just a financial investment, but a man hours investment. I think a lot of times people will say we're investing all this time and money into starting our website. It should just start yielding results immediately. And like what you just said, it takes time. And it takes time to get it started and get it optimized correctly. But then you have to invest time throughout the week to making sure everything is optimized the way it needs to be. So it's not just something that you can say, okay, we got a website, we're good to go now. You have to continue to invest in it and can kind of nurture it as well. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Tom, thanks for
Hey,
inviting me on, my friend.
wait, you can't wrap this up. I'm supposed to be the one who's like wraps
I
this up.
thought you were already doing. Sorry, dude.
I
Shoot.
was like, I gotta say, well, Jeremy, this was great talking to you. And then you're like, it's like you've done a podcast before. Oh, wait, you have done podcasts before. Okay,
Sorry,
Jeremy.
Tom. I didn't mean to rush you.
Gosh, I mean, you're just like trying to get rid of me. No, just kidding. Um, um, hey, well, listen, as we're wrapping up though, how can people connect with you? What's the best opportunity? Like if they've had a question, a follow-up question they'd love to talk to you about, what way can
Go to
they?
my just I have my name, jeremyzach.com. It's you can see a lot of my profile, you can see my work, and then it has all my contact information.
Yeah, great. And your favorite social network is?
Man, I don't know. I like to analyze them all. I've really been now that I'm kind of like on that corporate side, I've really been so intrigued by LinkedIn.
Oh man,
Um,
you've gone that way. You've gone
I
there.
know, dude. I know. I tried TikTok. I'm just horrible at it. Uh, and then obviously Instagram. I have really moved away from Twitter. I just haven't updated Twitter.
Yeah.
Uh,
You used to be on, man. You used to be on, and now you're not.
I'm old now, and my back aches, and
That's
I'm
great.
in bed by 8.
Yep. Yeah, right. Well, listen, this has been great. I'm gonna have all your links in the show notes so that people can do it. And if they're wondering how to spell your last name and all that stuff, I'm just gonna put all the links on the show notes. So click on his stuff. It's
You
great.
know,
Jeremy.
just
Jeremy.
don't bother me. Bother Tom. Just send
Um,
all your questions to Tom.
no, send them to Jeremy. He needs friends right now. So
Yeah, I do. I do.
so all right, Jeremy.
All right,
Thanks,
hon.
man, for being
All
on.
right. Thanks, Tom.
All right, so there you have it, my conversation with Jeremy. We are two very awkward middle-aged guys, but he's actually younger than I am, and that's rather interesting. But the reality is, that interview that I just had is, typifies our conversations. We're just awkward. We're with each other, and we like to laugh. And so I hope that you got something out of that. Again, Jeremy shared some great tips, the 3+ tips about website stuff and how you can implement some of those things into your website to help you reach more people and help really be optimized for people to really discover and learn more about your church. So I was curious, what stood out to you? What tip or what idea stood out to you, or is something that we didn't mention that maybe you're like, hey, Tom, you've got to do this on your website. I would love to hear that. You can email me at tom@ymsidekick.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter. Hitting me up on Twitter is my preference, so go to @TAPounder. I would love to talk to you a little bit more about that and what you think is best for your website and your church's website. So that would be awesome. All right, heroes, well, that wraps it up for another episode of the YM Sidekick podcast. As always, if you enjoyed the podcast, go to iTunes and subscribe to it, or you can go to ymsidekick.com. There I've got all the information, all like the ebooks, the blog, the podcast, some vlogs. I've got information about the Digital Bootcamp Facebook group. All that stuff is at ymsidekick.com. So go exploring there and see what stands out to you there. And if you got questions, as always, hit me up on Twitter or email me at tom@ymsidekick.com. All right, heroes, well, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until next time, have a great one.